This is Jessica Paige Kemp. She goes by Paige and she's been missing from Paragould, Arkansas since May 25th of 2025. The last time anyone made physical contact with her was shortly after she placed a distress call to 911 while camping solo near the wildlife management area adjacent to Lake Ashbaugh in northwest Greene County, Arkansas. According to a post on the Greene County Sheriff's Department Facebook page, Paige had made the call because she believed someone or something was under her car. When the deputy, who the county claims was trained in crisis prevention, arrived at the site, he learned that Paige had recently stopped taking medication that she used to treat mental health issues. After he had a conversation with her, it was determined that she didn't meet the criteria to be taken into custody under the Crisis Intervention Trained Officers Act 423 of 2017. The county claims the deputy advised Paige that she should follow up with her doctor regarding her mental well-being. The Greene County Sheriff's post went on to claim that Paige wasn't reported missing by family members until the 14th of May, which was 9 days after her distress call was made. Once the missing persons report was filed, the sheriff's office claims they responded back to the campsite to investigate immediately. Before the post listed out a detailed yet admittedly not all-inclusive timeline of their investigation, they decided to list some other details about Paige, which they say they discerned early on. Firstly, they claimed Paige had a known drug addiction. While it's true she was battling with an addiction to amphetamine, I think it's important to clarify that Paige wasn't what you would call a known drug user. A known drug user is someone I'd typically associate with some kind of criminal record. Paige doesn't have one. It doesn't appear she was ever arrested. I think it's fair to make that distinction, as what was said in the post can be a little misleading. The post also claimed that Paige commonly severs contact with family members for weeks or even months at a time. I've spoken to her brother Daryl, who you'll hear from in a moment. He avidly refuted this claim. In fact, he was with Paige just before she went camping. Thirdly, the post claimed Kemp was known to camp at remote locations like Lake Ashbaugh. This is true. Paige loved nature and animals and all things involving the outdoors. This can be seen in many of her photos. I'm just not sure why cops included this in the post, but not the fact that her car and tent were found at the campsite abandoned, while all her belongings were strewn around the place. But this won't be the strangest detail in this case. Lastly, under the early discerned details portion of the Greene County Sheriff's Department post, directly after not mentioning Paige's abandoned and seemingly tampered with belongings, they state there were no signs of foul play at the campsite or immediate area. Now, I have a lot of time for police. In every single country I've ever encountered them in, they've always been nothing but helpful and courteous to me. I think there's a lot more good ones than bad ones. But I found that section of the sheriff's post a little distasteful. Paige Kemp's last known contact before her phone went dark and she disappeared was to 911, and she was claiming someone or something was under her car. Then she disappears, abandons all her stuff, and her phone goes silent. I mean, that's not far off foul play, or at very least, suspicion. It's stated that the family didn't report Paige missing for 9 days after they last had contact with her, as if this is some kind of issue. But there's nothing wrong with going camping for a week, even if it was dangerous for her to do it alone. Paige was a 32-year-old woman. She has the right to camp. Also, according to her brother, her phone wasn't working perfectly the last time he saw her. So her family not reporting her missing for 9 days after contact, within this context, actually makes sense. Perhaps Paige was taking a break and wanted to get away for a week, and she didn't want to be bothered. So she camped, and she did so not too far from home. It would add up to me if a little over a week later, her loved ones realized that none of them had heard from her, got worried, and decided to call it in. If I was in their shoes, would alarm bells and red flags have been raised sooner in my head? Well, of course, but I make true crime content, and I'm aware of guys like Dennis Rader. I'm a serial door locker and pepper spray carrier. I take no chances. But not everyone sees the world through that lens, evident of the fact that Paige went camping on her own. Either way, this doesn't add up with Greene County Sheriff's assertion that Paige is known to drop contact with family for weeks or months at a time. If she was camping and wanted to be alone to clear her head, a week makes sense. A day or two after that, if heads in the family started to turn, well, that indicates to me that it isn't common for Paige to disappear for extended periods of time, or they wouldn't have reported her missing on the 14th of May. I have a cousin who's heavily into drugs. He's a well-known drug addict. There must be 70 different cases and mugshots available on him. I'm fairly sure he's been gone for years at a time. But he's not missing. He's just gone to addiction. It wouldn't be fair to compare Paige to him. You're going to hear from Paige Kemp's brother in just a moment. He can shed more light on the details of his sister's disappearance and go a little deeper into who she was, as well as disclose more details that just don't add up. I want to put a huge spotlight on this case because, well, I'm from Arkansas. Paragould is right next to my hometown. I can only imagine how I'd feel in this situation. Every day, all day, Paige Kemp's family are searching for her. But first, I want to give credit where credit's due. The Greene County Sheriff's Post did list a timeline of their investigation, and if it's accurate, they've certainly been helping put the man-hours in along with other teams. I just found parts of their post a little insensitive, as it appeared to make Paige out to be this wandering, disappearing vagabond addict, and her family avidly denies that. They say if Paige has just run away without telling anyone, it's well out of her character. I've included Greene County Sheriff's timeline in the description of this video down below, and I've created a flyer that I hope will aid in the search for Paige. There have been several tips and unverified possible sightings, as well as interviews with people like Paige Kemp's fiance, but so far, there's nothing concrete and no criminal investigation thus far. It is possible that this 32-year-old woman just wanted to get away from everything and doesn't want to be found. She has the right to do that, and I hope that's the case. But according to the details given by her family, this doesn't appear to be likely, and it's definitely unlike her. So I wonder, where did Greene County Sheriff's Department get their assumption? Well, I don't have the answer to that question. But Paige Kemp, if you're out there, please just let someone know you're safe. That's all you need to do, and then I'm sure it will put everyone's mind at ease. Then you can continue to wonder freely and take all the time you need, but just reach out and let everyone know you're okay. Through the rest of this video, you will hear from Paige's brother Daryl. Please take time to share the flyer. It will be posted on OneCrimeTV's Facebook page. I'm Mr. Black, and this is OneCrimeTV.
Hey Justin, this is Daryl Kemp. I want to say once again thank you for the opportunity. So to begin, I'd like to talk about who Paige is, where she's from, and what she means. We were born and raised around Memphis, Tennessee, a little town called Mumford, and we grew up hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, right there with each other through thick and thin. No matter what, we went through it together. We always loved nature. We grew up with some woods behind our house out there, and we would go out there and swing on vines and take sleds, even in the summertime, and sled down the hills. We'd get hurt, we'd have fun, and we'd learn our lessons. She was always very happy and loving, just nourishing, selfless, and just loved to spread kindness every chance she got. There was really nobody that she didn't get along with. You know, everybody thinks very highly of her. And, well, she's just the sweetest, kindest soul that I've ever met, and it is an honor to call her my sister. Paige loved to collect rocks, as well as any kind of quartz, crystals, agates, fossils, things of the sort. She's a free spirit, and she loves animals. She has a dog, a lab mix, Lily, and Lily's getting on up there in age, and it hasn't all been easy. We went through some things as teenagers. We lost our father to cancer. I believe she was 13 when he was diagnosed, and he battled with it for 5 years before it took him. Needless to say, that was very rough. She was 18 at the time of his passing, and she was a daddy's girl. He was her protector. He was her everything. He meant a lot to me too. Our dad was a really good guy, and physically, mentally, it affected all of us. She was caring for our grandfather, and one day she found him. I was there as well, but she just so happened to walk in the room first. That's something else that really affected her, mentally and physically, as well as it did me, but she always helped me carry strength, because I had to be strong for her. She was my sister. And so the last time she was seen alive was May 5th. It was by a Greene County Sheriff's deputy by the name of Brian Tillman. She had made a distress call in, and she claimed that there was somebody in her campsite and or under her car. And so Brian Tillman showed up on scene and this is his recollection because there is no body cam, and we have yet to hear back on dash cam. We have filed the Freedom of Information Act, and we are waiting to hear back on that. It has been over a week. So he arrived on scene, and he said in the report she was in distress. She was hallucinating, and she had stated to him that she had recently abruptly came off of her prescription medication, as well as using illicit drugs. As far as we know, it goes back to September of 2024, her using drugs. And it just kind of goes hand in hand with things that she's been through. I know life's hard. It gets tough. But you gotta hang in there. You can't let yourself get lost. So he reported all that, and he, called in for an ambulance, AMMC, I believe, out of Paragould, Arkansas. And they are in Delaplane out by Lake Ashbaugh, which is approximately an hour away, solid 45 minutes if you speed. The ambulance got canceled en route. We have not been able to find out why or anything. We cannot get any answers to any questions we have. Last time I saw her alive was May 4th. She came over early in the morning, and we hung out for about 13 hours that day, and we went fishing. Sorry, just a second, man. Last time I saw her alive was May 4th. We hung out for about 13 hours that day, and we went fishing. We talked, we laughed, we cried, but we had a good day. I was seeing very vague signs that she may be experiencing some sort of mental distress, for lack of a better term, that I had not, I just thought, it's rough. Life gets rough. I know I was going through some things myself, but I really wish I would have picked up more on it, thinking back, but I didn't. And needless to say, we had a really good day. And she left my place at approximately 8 o'clock at night on the 4th. I couldn't get her to stay, I did everything, but she wanted to go camping. She wanted to go back out there and go camping. I love her. She's 32 years old. She's an independent lady, and she's very trusting and just so kind-hearted, and we've told her, you've got to be careful who you trust, and, there's dangerous people and entities, and, it's a dangerous world we live in. But she left my place around 8 that evening, and I called her, I texted her daily. The phone that I was using at the time is now at the Greene County Sheriff's Office, held for a data dump evidence, But I called her 3, 4, 5 times a day. I messaged her, and the thing was, she had broken her phone, her primary phone. So her only means of communicating was getting a hold of some Wi-Fi and sending a message. And I had strained to her, Paige, even if you just send me a thumbs up to let me know that you're okay, that's enough for me. I was so concerned about her, and rightfully so, looking back. But, so, that happened, the 4th through I believe it to be it was the 13th, I know. The last time I had tried to reach out to her, and then the next day we all got together and realized that she hadn't talked to anybody and that she had not been using her debit card. We looked into it and put two and two together. So I reported a missing persons the morning of May 14th, approximately 9:30 in the morning. They found her car, to my knowledge, around 12:30 that afternoon, the same day of the 14th. They found it. All the doors were open. The trunk was open. It was wide open. Her belongings were strewed about the campground. Her car had been ransacked, and her tent was in a state of disarray. She also had belongings about 100 yards or 300 feet away from her campsite, tucked up against a tree area, a little bundle of trees. Personal items, a backpack with, her jewelry and some of her quartz crystals in there and things that she would not give up or leave behind. May 5th, the responding officer was a Greene County Sheriff's Officer, Brian Tillman, and we could not schedule a sit-down because he works nights, and that was literally their reason, because he works nights. The last contact we had with Paige was May 6th. My mom, Sandy Kemp, had messaged her and gotten a reply. I believe that to be the 5th, but possibly 6th. And she had talked to her about wanting to see her on Mother's Day, and she was reassuring my mother that she was safe and that she loved everybody and she was okay. She was having fun camping. She was, getting away from everything, and she was enjoying life, which I could totally understand. You should be able to do that freely without a fear of coming up missing and trying to be swept under the rug, dismissed. Anybody deserved more than this. So, and as far as the drug history, it was late September of 2024. We had found out that she had been using illicit drugs. Not had been for a long time, but just, it come to the surface. And at the time, before leading up to her missing, she had been to treatment centers, rehabilitation clinics, and we believed that she was battling, she was fighting the fight, and she was getting back in control of everything. And I know that's tough. I stayed with her for a while to help, look out, be there for her, everything I could do. And she seemed to be really working her way back, to getting back on track and being happy. And we were very close to Paige. We all were. Like I said, we would talk to each other and just, I would say, hey, brother, have you talked to mom? Or I would, it's just, that's how we network, sort of, kind of, because we have, none of us live any closer than 30 minutes to each other, and my mom stays in another state. She's in Tennessee. And, it's just very abnormal for her to not reach out. I know the update the Greene County Sheriff's Office has released mentions that it's normal for her to go weeks or months without contact, and that is completely false. I have no idea where they got that evidence or that idea. It was not from us. We have been from the beginning emphasizing how close we are and how strange it is that Mother's Day came and went. Paige didn't, she didn't see her. My birthday was May 22nd. My mom's birthday was May 25th. Paige would not go out one of those days without getting in touch with us. She would not. Her birthday is May the 3rd. And, well, it just kind of takes me back to how thankful I am I got to see her on the 4th. Because I didn't get to see her on her birthday. You know, it had been a little over a week since I had got to actually physically hug her and talk to her. Before the 4th. So that is a blessing. I will cherish that forever. And another thing that the Greene County Sheriff's Office has been pushing is the fiance. His name is Peyton Rayburn. And I don't really understand why he's being, I understand that people may be concerned and they may have their own conspiracy theories, but it seems like it's just, he's being very attacked and it is relentless. It's just from the inside looking out, he has nothing to do with this. Peyton is a good guy. We're very close. We have actually all been staying together, me, Peyton, and my mother. And when we're not out there looking and searching, we're doing whatever we can to help spread the word. So it is, and has been, some 20-hour days with little sleep and forcing ourselves to eat. Because if you don't eat, you can't be sharp. You're not worth, you're liable to get out there and fall out. It's getting warm, and it's not easy walking through weeds as tall as me. Yesterday, walked up on a cottonmouth, a water moccasin. So, to reiterate, Peyton is not a suspect. Peyton is out here with us. Peyton is involved 100%. And besides that fact, I know Peyton. I've known Peyton for 11 years. Peyton is not guilty. Peyton loves Paige as much as we do. Peyton is family. So I just wanted to state that fact. And so on May 11th, this is, one of the days that the Greene County Sheriff's Office told us about again. We cannot get body cam footage. They stated there is 0 body cam footage for any interaction with Paige. And the dash cam footage, like I said, we filed a Freedom of Information Act, I believe to be a little over a week ago. And we have not heard anything back. When we do, we will be in touch. So, on May 11th, they supposedly did a checkup, after May 5th. They had a May 9th date, as a checkup, and then a May 11th as a checkup. So, May 9th, I believe that, she wasn't on site. I don't have the report right here in front of me, but I do not believe she was on site. It was kind of just like but on May 11th, they found her car and the campsite in a state of, everything was spread out and it had been gone through, obviously, but they said that there was a man rummaging through her car and her belongings, going through her stuff. And that was Jenna Owen, the Greene County Sheriff's deputy that reported that day. And she said that he was looking for Jessica Kemp. And just something that, hits our ticker is it's Paige. It's not Jessica. If you're familiar with her name is Paige. But if you're going through somebody's car and you might find a piece of mail or an ID, you might say Jessica Paige. And also there were many things there, on the 14th, which I will get to here in just a second. And, so that's the 11th, that everything was already kind of spread out. Man was going through her car, and they had his name redacted on the police report. When we had to ask them 3 times for the police report before they actually agreed to it. And this is still non-criminal, y'all. It will not turn criminal. They do not suspect any foul play. So they had the man's name blacked out. You couldn't see it. And they, as far as I know, they didn't question him any further, which is mind-boggling to me. They just, Officer Jenna Owen showed up on May 11th and saw a man going through Paige's things, and he said, looking for Jessica Kemp, when she asked him what he was doing, and she thought that was normal. There's nothing strange about that, there's something very strange about that. So yeah, on the 14th, when they showed up for the missing persons report, they said that her car was wide open, and we have a witness that was there when they were bagging, quotation marks, bagging everything up and labeling it for evidence. And man, they balled that tin up. They balled it up and threw it in the trunk of their cruiser. We've asked to simply see evidence. They will not allow us to do that. They are saying that it is still part of an ongoing investigation, and if they need it for any kind of further leads or, to refer to in the future, they need it. And we just simply asked to look at it. We wanted to look at her car and see if there was anything that could give us a clue. But, it's just really rough when you're doing all you can to try to find somebody you love. We have given them multiple search and rescue affiliate. We've done the paperwork and gotten approved by affiliations such as Texas EquuSearch, just for reference, that they do all kinds of search and rescue. They use all sorts of means for resources. They have boats, they have drones, they have ATVs, trucks, they've got dogs, they have horses, mules, foot searchers, experienced people that know what they're doing. We've never searched for somebody. We've never had to do this. But the Greene County Sheriff's Office, man, they have been just completely nasty. We've been belittled, threatened, and dismissed. The unprofessionalism is just, it's unfathomable. They have zero compassion, and they absolutely refuse to communicate. They won't answer our phone calls, our text messages, or our emails, and they even threaten to close the case if we speak out. And that is for real. That is serious. And we've been fearful of speaking out on this because they threatened to close the case on my sister, Jessica Paige Kemp. We're out there, y'all, as much as we can be, as hard as we can be, nose to the grindstone. They said they've logged 200 hours in on the case. We kind of just did some math the other day, and not trying to belittle anything, but it's a simple fact. We have logged, at this point, well over 1,000 hours. And that is between 3 people that are directly out there every single day. And if we're not out there, we're somewhere else doing something else, flyers, talking to people, knocking on doors, trying to get any kind of leads we can. And that's rough, to have to teach yourself how to be a detective, a search and rescue. It's just, it's so exhausting. Every end of it, every aspect of it is something I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I don't have any enemies, but if I did, I wouldn't wish it on them. And, something we worry about is what's going to be left of us when all this is said and done. We're optimistic. We will bring Paige home, but, you can't keep your mind from doing what it does and wandering, and you speculate. And we've gotten so little facts on what's going on. We don't know what's going on. So we're out there kind of just blindly checking, searching, grid searching, mapping it out. We blow it up on the TV at night and go over it, and we all sit in the same room and we go over things together. We found a trail cam yesterday with a card in it. It's the first card we found, but it's one of the first things me and Peyton did when we got back. It was a macro, so you couldn't put it in the phone. We had to plug it into the laptop, and we went over that. Took over an hour, and we took notes, but it was just search and rescue type people out there. There was nothing suspicious at all. But that's just for instance. And then after that, I mean, I've got to edit videos. I try to make it relevant on some social media platforms, and that has helped immensely. People sharing the story, that is the biggest help we have had, as well as people showing up out there and really coming together. I'd like to give a shout out to a family from yesterday. They showed up and they really made a difference. They're just some really good people, and that's what the world needs. And it was well, it just helps morale for us, because like I said, this is so exhausting, and your mind just, it is a powerful thing, your mind. So back to them threatening to close the case. That's in an email, so it's not a secret, but we're like I said, for fear of the Greene County Sheriff's Office closing this case, like they said they would if we speak out, we have not made any of this public. This is really the first time I'm speaking out on this for, well, any time. And so the leading sheriff of the team of 4 is Captain Thomas. I do not know her first name. I have it somewhere, but I don't have it here. Captain Thomas of the Greene County Sheriff's Office in Paragould, Arkansas, directly told my mother on the phone she wasn't dealing with her anymore because she was simply asking questions. I was there. My mom asked her when Captain Thomas stated that they was going to have dogs out there, and my mom asked, do you know about when that might be? And my mother wasn't rude. She was concerned, and she was trying to simply get some kind of an answer, because honestly, we didn't feel like they wasn't going to back it up. But as much as we felt like that, we still stayed as formal as possible. But, so Captain Thomas shut her down real quick, said she wasn't dealing with her anymore, and just, they have the phone call, but we won't be able to get it unless we have somebody with a little bit more tug that can maybe get a hold of some information. And we have a PI on the case. It was I believe it's Presidium Group. They're really good. They're very effective. And she said that she wasn't working with them. So they just they chalk it up to somebody on drugs and a family that's not close, that's distant, and this is something that happens on the usual. That is complete nonsense. I can't stress that enough. We have always been close, very close, through necessity. Life has, it'll do it to you if you let it. We've always been just right there with each other. We're there for each other through anything, and always have been. And the Greene County Sheriff's Office also refused, they refused any assistance that we offered them. They told us Do not bring us any tips or leads unless you know it to be factual. And they're the law enforcement agency that is overseeing this case. They have to approve for the state to come in and help, the FBI to come in and help, because it is non-criminal. This is as far as my knowledge takes me, and I've done research and we have looked this up. But the internet will only take you so far, so this is as far as my knowledge goes. If it's non-criminal, nobody can just step in because they're overseeing the investigation. They have to approve, unless it's a private team, which we have had people out there. A lot of people have come together and helped us in our search for Paige. It's huge, y'all. Sharing this story and, keeping us in your prayers is, man, I can't thank everybody enough. I never will be able to, but it means everything. And they stated they're underfunded and understaffed, the Greene County Sheriff's Office. That was face-to-face, believe in an interview up there at their office in Paragould, Arkansas. And that just goes kind of against the grain with them refusing our search and rescue affiliations. They say that they're doing the best they can, but they're understaffed and underfunded. Yet you turn around and refuse any help from a large organization that will actually be able to get out there and find some things. It was at the 2-week mark. We had been out there for 2 weeks before Greene County Sheriff's Office, I will say, really put in an effort. I came to a point where I found out that if I spend my time and my mind on things other than looking for Paige, then it takes away from looking for Paige. Same with eating. Oh, we can't eat. It's just really hard. She constantly feels sick. You'll get out there, it's getting hot, it's warming up. Until we find out what happened to Paige, we're not gonna give up. And then as well as the updates, as well as us getting notified at the same time as the public, there's so much stuff in the updates that are non-factual. Like I said earlier, I don't know where they're getting some of their information, but it is not at all accurate. It is very easy to get irritable. You're not eating. I'm dehydrated right now. I need to get a drink of water. And I need to get it back out there and keep looking for Paige. So to top this off, we love you, Paige. We will always love you. We always have loved you. And we're coming for you. And we're never going to stop looking. You deserve so much more than what has been done. An effort to drag somebody's name through the mud and dismiss a missing person when there's thousands of people that are concerned, that are praying, that are getting behind us and helping us push forward, screaming with us so our voice is heard. It's more than we could ask for. And Paige was struggling with life. She had some depression going on. Paige hasn't done anything wrong. Paige is not a bad person at all.